This is the parking lot. This is the parking lot. You can see the parking lot also now in this picture shown here. Okay? Aftermath. After the hit. There is no structural damage to the building. The walls stayed intact. There are no craters here. All of the above, which I said, no structural damage. The walls stay intact. No craters. These are the characterized that shows that it's not an aerial munition that has hit the parking lot. We also have examples of what air-to-ground munition creator looks like. As you can see, they do not exist in this instance. Many media outlets immediately reported the unverified claims by Hamas. Those were lies spread by Hamas. I want to make something clear. It is impossible to know what happened as quickly as Hamas claimed they knew. That should have been an initial warning sign for many. Unlike Hamas, the IDF launched an immediate examination, which was overseen at the very highest levels of command. This professional review was based on intelligence, operational systems, and aerial footage, all of which we cross-checked. The evidence, which we are sharing with you all, confirms that the explosion of the Ali al-Mahadani hospital in Gaza was caused by an Islamic Jihad rocket that was misfired. Here are the four main parts of the examination process. First, we confirmed that there was no IDF fire by land, sea or air that hit the hospital. Second, our radar system tracked rockets fired by terrorists from within Gaza at the time of the explosion. I will show you. The trajectory analysis from the barrage of rockets confirms that the rockets were fired close proximity to the hospital. In addition, there are two independent videos which show the failure of the rocket launch and the continuation of rocket flight towards the ground within the Gaza Strip, falling in the hospital compound. Third, we have intelligence, some that will be shared here, of communication between terrorists talking about rockets misfiring. The terrorists realized that the rocket has misfired and made specific reference to the Ali al-Madani hospital. I would want to let everybody hear the conversation, and I will do the translation in English. I'm telling you, this is the first time that we see missile like this falling, and so that's why we are saying it belongs to the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. What? They are saying it belongs to the PGI. It's from us? It looks like it. Who says this? They are saying the sharpnel from the missile is local sharpnel and not like Israeli sharpnel. What are you saying, Abu Ammar? But God bless, it couldn't have been found another place, not the hospital, to explode? Never mind, yes, Abu Raji. They shot it from the cemetery behind the hospital. What? They shot it coming from the cemetery behind the Mahadani hospital, and it misfired and fell on them. There's a cemetery behind it? Yes, Al-Mahadani is exactly in the compound. Where is it when you enter the compound? You first enter the compound and don't go towards the city. It's on the right side of Al-Madani hospital. Yes, I know it. We have cross-checked, intercept with other intelligence sources to confirm this accuracy. It is common for rockets that are fired at Israel to land short and fall inside Gaza. These rockets fall short of Israel and have caused Palestinian casualties. During this war, we have counted approximately 450 rockets that misfired and fell inside Gaza. Palestinian civilians paid the price. I want to show you the footage. These are failed launches during this war, until now. These are all failed launches that fell inside the Gaza Strip, and some of them, of course, created casualties among the Palestinians themselves. And one of them was in the hospital Al-Hali al-Mahamadani. We are also sharing this information with our partners. First and foremost, the United States. We want the maximum transparency because we take any incident involving civilians very, very seriously. Unfortunately, many in the media immediately reported the statements coming out from Hamas, controlled in Gaza, which blamed Israel. Instead of waiting for the examination of a credible information from the IDF, some media outlets ran with Hamas lies. Some of those headlines are still up, have not been corrected. I understand the desire to break news, but I hope you will all agree the accuracy and credible information comes before speed. The IDF acts in accordance with the international law. In conclusion, this incident shows how allegations, in this case false and baseless allegations made by terrorists against Israel, can spread and inflame tension in the region. I will now answer questions.
Jeremy Diamond, CNN.
Hey, I'm Hogari. Jeremy Diamond, CNN. Thank you so much. I'm wondering if you could first explain how an Islamic Jihad rocket could have caused this much death and destruction. And then second of all, I'd also like you to address the question of credibility, because frankly the IDF has a less than perfect track record with the issue of credibility. Among other incidents, the Israeli government initially claimed that it was armed Palestinian militants who killed the journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, which we know is not true. So why should the world trust you now?
Because of the importance of credibility. In the past, we had ourselves were fast to go to conclusion. This is why in this event we took the time. It took us more than 5 hours. We wanted to double check everything, make sure we're credible. Again, we wanted to double check everything, make sure we're credible, opposed to the other events that you mentioned. Now we'll want to answer your first question. I'm saying it again. What I understand the assessment is there were people in the parking lot, probably taking refugees or whatever that came into the parking lot, staying in the parking lot, not inside the hospital itself. This is what we understand. Then, what we understand, because the rocket's flight, due to the rocket flight, it was very, very short, because the launch has failed, the existence of propellant made a larger explosion than the warhead itself. And this caused the damage of explosion that we see of the burning cars here, okay, because of the existence of a large amount of propellant inside. This is the reason all those cars have been burned, and probably the people were in this parking lot.
Just to follow up, one of the difficulties with independently verifying a lot of this information is the fact that journalists are not able to go into Gaza right now. Okay. So will you open access for journalists to be able to go into Gaza?
I believe there are journalists now, some journalists now in Gaza, and I can tell you another thing. Hamas has closed the area, is trying to take evidence from the area. The area is now closed. I ask you to send the journalists now in Gaza Strip. Go to the hospital, take evidence.
ABC in panel.
Yeah, good morning, thank you. President Biden says he's outraged, and so are millions of people, not just throughout the Middle East, but elsewhere in the world. Whoever was responsible for this, many will still conclude that if you weren't already bombing Gaza with thousands of strikes, there wouldn't have been so many people in the hospital, and this attack would not have happened. In other words, whatever justification, explanation you can put on it, many people are just going to conclude it's Israel's fault.
I will answer, sir. important question. We have been calling for a couple of days now for the population in Gaza City and its surrounds to go southern from Wadi Gaza because Hamas is using them as human shield. Hamas tries in every way to keep the population by threatening, by taking car keys and other things, blocking the roads. He wants the population in Gaza City because all the infrastructures of Hamas, the terrorist infrastructures down beneath in the tunnels and in buildings among other innocent civilians, and also in sensitive locations like nearby hospitals and in mosques, etc., etc. All of this logic is based that the population will be a human shield. This is why he's so freaked out when people are moving southern to Gaza, to Wadi Gaza. We encourage the population to do so because we put more effort in Gaza City because Hamas control system is mostly in Gaza City. That is the main reason. We carried out our attacks because we were massacred on Saturday. We did not do an initial attack on Gaza. We had a massacre on Israel, an historical massacre which the world haven't seen. It's a Hamas-ISIS massacre in a huge scale. We didn't start. We have to fight. We have to fight. This is the reason we're fighting. We're trying to minimize the casualty of the population. We're encouraging to go southern to Wadi Gaza when we can provide as much a secure area for the population. We keep on encouraging them to do so.
Just a brief follow-up. You've already encouraged people to move south, and unfortunately it's proved that that hasn't been safe either. The bombing has continued in places like Khan Yunis and towards Rafah, where people have been encouraged to go. And just finally, how does this alter your plans for a ground operation? It has to be a consideration, no?
We are now going to share in these following hours an area of a safe zone for the Gazan that went southern to Wadi Gaza. And we are trying to create the conditions and the corridors. Yes, we do attack in different areas, but when we attack by intelligence. We try to minimize the population in those areas before we attack. That's the logic. And about the next stages of the war, I will not talk about here, of the next stages of the war.
BBC, Jeremy Bowen.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Do you think that the governments that condemned Israel last night will believe your explanation? I'm referring to Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates.
I think all of the countries that you mentioned are watching the BBC carefully and looking carefully what the BBC said. And I hope after our aftermath that showed it was cross-checked and we took the time because we didn't want to be non-reliable and we didn't want us to infect with our credibility. I hope the BBC will now share this investigation and those countries will listen to the BBC, and we will also share United States a more intimate and also United Kingdom a more intimate review so the BBC can show it. And those countries, those Arab countries that you mentioned, which is very important for Israel, of course, from the Abraham Accords and other countries who also would be threatened by Hamas-ISIS ideology, should understand our war. What Hamas-ISIS did on the massacre on Saturday is nothing to do with Islam. People killed babies, people killed families, women were raped, people were beheaded. This is against Islam. This is against Islam. Any Arab country will show me a fatwa that goes with Islam. This is against Islam. Hamas is ISIS. It's not a one terror activity. It's a scale massacre of the governance of the Gaza city, of Gaza, which is Hamas. Hamas made a scale massacre, which is a govern. It's the sovereign. It's a sovereign massacre. This is why Hamas, ISIS, we must fight it.
If I just follow up on that, I mean, you're essentially saying that these Arab governments watch the BBC and made up their minds. They came out with their statements long before I filed. So, I mean, I'm impressed you think we have so much clout in the world, but to be honest, they have their own sources of information, which is why they moved. Those statements came from the highest level, foreign minister and above.
I guess in the first time, because people feel empathy with hearing that someone bombed an hospital, or when they see people are dying. So they go out and do statements. It's okay, and I'm not blaming.
They're being emotional, you say?
I think, and it sounds reasonable. But now, after evidence being shown, and I think it serves Hamas. Hamas is a terror like ISIS. It's media and sword. He wants to go to the media. He wants to be viral. That creates a viral imagery. So, after the conversation you heard when they say it's Islamic Jihad, we say, okay, now we're going to take the benefit out of it and we're going to show the world. And they know it's going to be viral. So I'm not blaming anybody for showing it. I'm just trying to now fix it. Because we were blamed before that when we're too speed and too that we're asking, are you credible? We're taking the time to be credible. Sometimes the speed defects it.
Patrick Kingsley, New York Times.
Thanks, Admiral. I have some technical questions. In your footage that you released last night, some of that footage was filmed by Al Jazeera. Our team assessed that footage, and at least one of the munitions appears to be travelling in a different direction to the one that you assess in your map. It's travelling northwesterly, not northeasterly, as your map suggests. Second of all, did the IDF fire any Iron Dome interceptors or artillery munitions at 6:59 p.m. From Israel into Gaza? Thirdly, can you share the intercepted audio of the Hamas members that you just played? I think that would be important for our assessment.
Another question, Patrick.
I know, but we haven't got much time. Hospital officials said that smaller strikes targeted the hospital on Saturday, and that they were warned by phone by Israeli officials to vacate the hospital. Do you have any response to that? And finally, is there any evidence of secondary explosions?
Okay. Let's start with the first thing. Iron Dome, we do not intercept inside Gaza. Okay? Iron Dome, we do not intercept inside Gaza. This is not an Iron Dome. Iron Dome is used for preventing the rockets to being hit in Israel. That's the first question. Second question, those independent videos which we showed of the failure that you mentioned are not only the forced element of the check. It's not, we didn't base our facts on those independent videos, it's extra. So I hear what the New York Times says, and it's extra. And the reports that you mentioned about telling the hospital to be evacuated earlier days before, I will check it. I do not know the answer. I don't want to give you an answer which is incorrect. And you asked about the secondary explosion in the parking lot. What we see here in the picture, and this is the most important thing. Aerial munition doesn't look like that. Aerial munition of Israel would have caused intact to the walls. It would have caused a crater. Okay? And it makes completely logic, as much as we know, that most of this damage was done due to the propellant existence, not just the warhead, because of the short range, because the launches failed.
To be clear, so the propellant caught fire after landing?
Because those rockets should have been gone far away to Israel, so you have a large existence of propellant.
Can you use Deborah Haynes?
You said that you believe that the number of casualties has been inflated. Can you give an assessment of what you believe that number of dead and wounded to be? And secondly, regardless how credible the evidence is that you show that this explosion was not caused by an Israeli munition, your enemies are going to still blame Israel, and it's the fact that many Palestinian civilians have been killed since this military operation began. Are you losing the information war? And given how important that is there a potential to maybe change tack? Because you said this is going to be, well, officials have said it's going to be a long war. Are you not losing it by using so much military power on Gaza Strip while there are civilians there?
Okay. So we'll try to answer the second question before that because I think it's important. The information war is a hard war. It's a hard enemy to win because this enemy has built his logic very, very wisely, using the population as a human shield. Hamas pictured himself in the world as a charity organization, donating money for the poor Gazan of Hamas. While we see all the money that came to Hamas, most of it goes to tunnels, goes to this scale massacred operation, all the donations from many countries in the world, including Europe. Secondly, we've seen, and also UNRWA had verified it, that Hamas is stealing gasoline, food, and also we found in Israel, during the massacre, the kits of the medical kits were UNRWA kits used by the terrorists. We are fighting something that is hard to explain. He's using the donation that you send, is using the UNRWA possessions that are meant to go to the poor Gazan, those poor Palestinians that were hijacked by Hamas, and he's using it. He took all the gasoline that could have helped for desalination inside the Gaza for 6 days. It could have gone gas for hospitals. He took it to his own infrastructure, military infrastructure, the terror infrastructures that need this gas. This is who we're fighting against. This is who we're fighting against. And we have to win this information war with evidence, not with false, uncredible statements. We have to win it with evidence. We have no other way. We must stay moral. We must play according to international law. We have no other way. Otherwise, we won't be a Democrat liberal country. And this is what we're fighting. It's a Democrat liberal country fighting Hamas, ISIS-controlled Gazan area with innocent civilians, Palestinians, that is using them as a human shield.